Welcome to Canada Abroad. My name is Deanne Akers. I am a member in good standing with the ICCRC, and today we're going to be talking about the Federal Skilled Worker Program. This is the most popular program worldwide. Most people have heard about it. Some people know about it and the point system and what's involved, and others don't. So today we are going to go over the program and what's involved and how you would actually apply as a federal skilled worker. So the first requirement to apply as a federal skilled worker is that you have a minimum of 1 year of full-time work experience in a qualifying occupation. What that means is full-time is considered 30 hours or more per week for a full 12 months, and a qualifying occupation is what they call an O, A, or B level occupation as classified by the National Occupation Classification. So you can go on the NOC's website, or you can contact us as well and we can assist you. And you would look up your occupation. It'll give you an occupation code. Then you need to take that code and look at the National Occupation Classification matrix. The matrix will show you if you are classified as an O, A, B, C, or D occupation. As long as you're O, A, or B, then you know that you are in a qualifying occupation. Next, you want to look at the Federal Skilled Worker scoring system. You need to score a minimum of 67 out of 100 points on the Federal Skilled Worker scoring system to be eligible to lodge an application as a federal skilled worker. So they're going to look at your age, your education, your language skills, it can be English or French, your work experience, and then what they call adaptability. So different adaptability factors can be a job offer from a Canadian employer, if you've previously worked or studied in Canada, if your spouse has previously worked or studied in Canada, or if you have a blood relative in Canada that qualifies to give you additional points. So once you know that you have the full year of work experience in a qualifying occupation, you need to then check that you have the 67 points or higher to proceed with an application. Now, the Federal Skilled Worker program is one of the ones that goes through express entry. So you need to first make sure that you qualify for that program before submitting your application through the express entry system. Express entry is more of a file management system for the different immigration programs, which are Federal Skilled Worker, Federal Skilled Trade, Canadian Experience Class, and Provincial Nominees. If you're not in one of those four categories, you wouldn't actually use express entry to launch your application. So once you do go into express entry, it is going to do a verification to make sure that you meet the qualifications of one of those four programs. If you don't, then it will actually reject your application and you will not proceed any further. So it's very important to make sure that you meet those requirements before lodging your application. Now, once you've entered yourself into the express entry system, you still are under the Federal Skilled Worker program, but you're now in the express entry pool of candidates. Once you're in that pool, you're going to get assigned a second immigration score. This is your comprehensive ranking system score. This one is out of 1,200 and looks at mostly the same sections and looks at mostly the same areas that the Federal Skilled Worker system does. So it's going to look at your age. It's going to look at your level of education. It's going to look at your language proficiency in English or French or both. It's going to look at a combination of your work experience and your language skills, as well as a combination of your educational level and your language skills. Then if you are married or common law, it is going to give you extra points for your spouse's qualification and their language level. And if your spouse has ever worked in Canada previously, you would get extra points. And as well, if you have ever worked or studied, or if you have a Canadian qualification, you would get additional points as well. So this is the score that they're actually going to use when they're selecting you for immigration purposes. So the first scoring system out of 100, which is the Federal Skilled Worker system. So the first point system, which is the Federal Skilled Worker point system, as long as you get 67 out of 100, you can apply under that program. Then they won't look at that score when selecting you for immigration. So it's very important that you understand the two different scores. When you're in the express entry system, it's always going to need to see that you're meeting that 67 points or higher. So for instance, if you are at 67 on the dot, and then after a year your birthday comes and you lose a point for age, you are going to get kicked out of the express entry system. So that's also important to keep in mind. The comprehensive ranking system score is the most important score, because once you're in the system, this is what they are going to use to pick you for immigration purposes. So if you've ever researched express entry, you probably have heard of rounds of invitations or a draw or things like that. So what happens is the government hands out invitations to apply. This means they've picked you for full permanent residency and they want your full application to process your permanent residency. They hand out these nominations based on score. So to date, as of now, September 29th, the lowest score that they have picked is 450. So if you were included in that draw, you would have been given an invitation to apply if you had a score of 450 or above. Okay? Anything under 450, you remain in the express entry pool of applicants and you don't have your invitation to apply yet. It's very important when you're doing an application to be realistic about what your score means. It's possible to boost your score if you receive a job offer from a Canadian employer, as long as they can get a labor market impact assessment for your job, or if you are picked by a specific province in Canada. So there are several different provinces that offer express entry programs to those who don't have a job offer in Canada. Some of them are based on their own point system. Some of them you need to be in a certain qualification. Some of them you need to have work experience in a specific occupation. So you would need to look at the different provinces to see if it's feasible that you could actually get one of these nominations. If you do get a job offer or a nomination, it automatically adds 600 points to your comprehensive ranking system score. So the score is out of 1,200. The first 600 points is if you have that job offer or you're nominated by a province. The other 600 points is all of the areas that we have discussed previously. So it is absolutely possible to be selected without a job offer and without a provincial nomination. We've seen this in the past. We've had clients get selected with scores in the 450s. So if you want to see a list of all of the express entry scores selected to date, you can go to our website and go on the blog section. Every time there is a new draw, we post the results and all the previous results as well. So you can go there to check it out. So the main things that you need to keep in mind if you want to apply as a federal skilled worker is that you have the required work experience and you have the required points. Keep in mind you will need to do a language test. So if you're doing English, it would be IELTS or CELPIP, general versions. If you are doing French, it would be the TEF, and you will need to have your qualifications assessed. So if you do not have a qualification, you might not end up being able to reach those 67 points or higher, but you'll need to do an assessment of that. Again, if you want to look at the point system for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you can go on our website and the information is available there as well.